Goff up under center, single back behind him. On second down, they give it to Jahmyr, hesitates, cuts left, looking for the edge, to the end zone, touchdown Detroit Lions.
Welcome to the Twentyman Huddle podcast, and we are in week 12. Lomas Brown, week 12.
It's moving, TT. I mean, this season, but it always does that. But I guess because this is a special season, it seems like it's moving a little faster. So, yeah, I can't believe it, week 12 already.
Obviously, next to me, Lions great, does a great job with the color analyst for 97.1. Yeah. And wait, before we start, I want to clear a little something up because I had TJ Lang on last week. And I was looking at some of the comments, and I was getting like this mini-me stuff, like why TJ's double your – like TJ is a big guy. How big are you?
So I'm like 6'4.5".
Okay.
Yeah. So TJ, but I've dropped a little weight because I used to be a big one. My first 6 years in the league, I was 315. Yeah. My last 12 years in the league, I weighed between 275. So right now, TT, I'm probably about 250.
You're
right
looking
now.
good.
Yeah, trying to hang in. Look, I tell people I don't have to block anybody anymore, so I don't have to walk around at 300.
But I'm not a little guy.
No.
Like, I'm 5'10", I'm 180. Like I'm not. But I was getting all these comments, and I'm sure I'm going to get some now being next to you. But, man, you and TJ got me looking like a mini-me over here. And I just want people out there to know that I'm not I'm above average in height, all right?
You know what? Dan Miller feels real secure when me and TJ are in the booth.
All right. Well, look. They just keep rolling, Loam. I mean, 9-1. Obviously, what they did last week was impressive.
Yeah.
You know, to have a second game in a row with 50-plus points. You said a franchise record was 645 yards, 38 first downs. I mean, and the defense played just as well. This is a football team that just is clicking on all cylinders.
I mean, they are, TT. And if you go off, talk about the coaching, the phenomenal job that Ben Johnson, that Aaron Glenn, that Dave Phipps have done, and, of course, Coach Campbell. And then you look at what Hank Fraley has done with the offensive line where he's had to move pieces in and out, but they've been flawless pretty much the whole season. Look at Calvin Shepard now with what he has to deal with Alex being gone, but some of the things he's had to do with losing Derek Barnes early. And I just look at what Terrell Williams has done as a coach. Our defensive line, it was the bomb, TT. You know that, man. We were getting after people and still are. But, again, when Aiden was there. So, and then in the secondary, how our secondary has come along with Aaron Glenn helping our secondary coach. So, man, you look at all phases of this team and throwing our field goal kicker.
Oh, just 15 for 15.
Thank you. Yeah. Just perfect. Just perfect on the year. So it's been great. You're right. It's been great.
It's been complimentary football, which you love to see. And by the way, I love the Bloomfield
sweatshirt,
by the way. Shout out to the Blackhawks.
Yeah, this isn't the Ravens, Bloomfield Blackhawks.
I know you help coach football there. The offensive line. My son plays hockey and baseball there, so nice. A nice touch. But look, you're here because let's get into the three keys for a Lions win. They go on the road to get 9 straight. I think there's 3 areas that they've got to play pretty well. And I think first off, defensively, Anthony Richardson is making his second start after being benched. You look at last week's performance against the Jets, probably his best game as a professional. 20 for 30 passing, 272 yards, a touchdown, no turnovers. That's been the big thing with him, Loam. Over 100 passer rating, plus he added 2 touchdowns. If you're a Colts fan, you love to see that performance, especially the way that he was throwing the ball in the pocket. But if you're the Detroit Lions, I think that's the key, right? Yeah. I think he's at his best when he gets outside the pocket, when he can, use his legs to make plays. I think if you keep him in the pocket, you make him throw, and he ends up beating you that way, well, you tip your cap and you say, hey, no problem. But that's the recipe for this Lions defense, right? Keep him in the pocket, make him a passer.
Absolutely. So TT, he's a Florida Gator. I'm a Florida Gator. So I watched him for the little time that he was there. I always felt he should have stayed another year at Florida. But when you talk about all the money and everything that comes with the NFL, it's hard to tell a young man to stay in college. But I felt he should have. And you've seen it early in this season. Like you said, this Jets game was his best game of the year. To me, still, though, he's going to give you opportunities. And that's why, to your point, what you're saying, we need to keep him in that pocket and let him throw. We want him to throw the ball. You normally don't say that about certain quarterbacks in this league, but he's one that I think he was second in off-target throws, amongst quarterbacks. And so he's going to give you that opportunity, and especially with our defense, as optimistic as especially the back half. Look, TT, best safety tandem in the league. No question.
No question.
No question.
No question.
So they're gonna be lurking, and he has to know that. The offensive coaching staff for the Colts have to know that. So I expect them to try to keep it short with his throws. I don't expect him to try to go downfield, which they say he's pretty good with the long ball going downfield, but I just don't expect that out of him because of Kirby Joseph, because of Brian Branch. So I expect him to be in there, and you're right. That's going to be the important thing. But TT, that's still one of my sore spots. I know we got our guy Zadarius, but one sack last week on Matt Jones.
Yeah.
Who? Matt Jones. That's what I'm saying. It's still concerning. Now I know Aaron Glenn and them, they'll figure out something, but that's still a concerning spot for me right now.
Yeah, you talked about throwing the ball down the field. I mean, they do have Alec Pierce, 22.7 yards per reception. That's their Jamison Williams.
Yes.
That's their guy. They're going to take a couple shots, but again, to your point, 48% completion percentage for Richardson this year, lowest in the NFL. He's got 5 touchdowns, first 7 picks. Again, to your point, he's going to give you opportunities.
Yes.
To me, that's what you want to do. Last time the Lions faced a rushing quarterback, Kyler Murray, week 3, I thought they did a great job on him. Look, Kyler had 5 rushes for 45 yards. One was a 21-yarder, which is mixed in there, but they held that team to 77 yards rushing. They made him a passer, and that's not the strength of that team. Exactly. And that's why we saw in the second half, the Lions, come away with that victory. So I think that's the recipe. You look back to week 3, you say, hey, make Anthony Richardson a passer. Yes. If he completes those balls down the field to Alec Pierce and Michael Pittman and Adonai Mitchell, the rookie like that, look, they've got some talented weapons. And Jonathan Taylor, obviously, too. That's going to be big, too. But I think that's the recipe for this Lions defense. Make him a pocket passer, and if he beats you, again, tip your cap and say, nice job, young man. 2 weeks in a row, good for you. But that's the way you got to be.
And TT, to me, if you're Aaron Glenn, you work on some things. You're thinking further down the line. You're thinking of who we have to face, who we could possibly face, quarterback-wise. And to me, you work on some things. So everybody said we can't contain. So maybe we send pressure. Maybe you work on disguising and sending different blitzes at him just to rattle him, just to see how they work. So I think this is a perfect, like these last couple of games, I hate to say them, I kind of treated them like exhibition games where you could work on some things. You could do some things you typically wouldn't do just so you could see how they'll work when we really need them in the moments that are going to come up. Because these guys are thinking Super Bowl, which everybody is right now. So you got to be thinking ahead. You play in the moment, but you're thinking ahead of the moment because you know what you have to face and everything. You want to know how you get matchups, how you create different matchups, different advantages. So I think that's where Aaron Glenn, I think that's where Ben Johnson, I think that's where Dan Campbell and Dave Phillips, I think that's where they are right now with thinking ahead, knowing that the task is now, but being able to think ahead to what's coming up.
I like it. All right, second one, another huge injury on defense, and the second key for me is continuing that defensive production. minus another guy, Alex Anzalone. Broke his forearm last week. Tough loss for this defense. Now, he's got the green dot. Just the production, Loam, and the heart and soul of that defense, what he means. He sets the tone for them. I think he's their best cover linebacker, so you lose that part of it as well. How do they continue to be just as productive now without Derek Barnes, without Aiden Hutchinson, and now without the heart and soul Alex Anzalone?
Yeah, I said this probably like 2 weeks ago on radio, TT. I said Alex Anzalone was one of the most underrated NFL players. Not just linebacker, not just on this team. I'm serious. I don't think he was appreciated nationally like he should have been. And the numbers, like you say, he's been putting up consecutive games, putting up tackles. You know, some of the things that he does. And, of course, like you say, the emotional leader, that guy that wears the emotions on the team. And it's going to be hard. It is going to be hard. And I know the one thing that they don't want to do, you don't want to overload Jack Campbell. Yeah. You don't want to do that because he's still a young guy in his second year, still learning. So you don't want to put too much on his plate, you know, where you slow him down, where you got him thinking, where he's not reacting like he has been reacting, because he's been playing great. Yes, he has. And downhill, TT, yeah. I love it, man. I mean,
when he
coming
hits you,
at
you know he hits you. And I love guys like that. It's
TT,
like Brian, you know?
Think about all of them, Meek. Think about Kirby. Everybody come up, see it's contagious. One get one. Okay, I want to try to outdo that. So everybody's trying to get some hits. So so it's gonna be adjustment. And I just don't think one person gonna be able to do it, TT. I think they're gonna have to do it maybe by committee. Maybe you get Brian Branch. You know what if this could have happened, I thought this would have been the perfect scenario. If a Fatu Melifonwu, if he could have stayed healthy, maybe because he has linebacker size, we could have played him in the box, man. He could have covered tight ends. He could have covered the slot possibly, but he would have been another enforcer down there. Now I think maybe you do it with Brian Branch more in there. I don't know. I don't know how Aaron Glenn, of course, with the guys we have now, hopefully Rodrigo and all of them, they keep
that's
playing
the big
well.
one to me.
Yeah.
You know, I think that's the one guy that has to step up the most. And look, every time we've talked to Kelvin Shepherd, he's been like, I consider Malcolm a starter.
Yeah.
He was obviously a starter as a rookie when he came in here. You know, the team drafted Jack and played Jack, and so he moved into a reserve role. But they've always viewed him as a guy that can step in and start. And to me, if he elevates his play, now, to your point, you don't have to put as much on Jack. You know, you put more on Malcolm. And then you've got guys like Ben Neiman, Trevor Nowaski, Ezekiel Turner, who they just got, guys that have played football in this league, veteran guys that are going to have to step up as well. And look, if there was one room, I think at the beginning of the year, and I don't know if you would agree with this, that could maybe handle some injuries and do that, it was that linebacker room, because they were really, really deep in that linebacker room. Now, losing Derek's big, losing Alex is big. Great thing is Alex is going to be back for the playoffs at 6 to 8 weeks. But to me, I think they can get away with it if guys like Malcolm, guys like Neiman, guys like Nowaski step up a little bit. And Loam, it's so great to have this secondary behind him, right?
Exactly.
I mean, that to me is so huge too. When you've got the secondary playing as well as they are, I think that takes some of the pressure off those linebackers.
Man,
as well.
TT, just think about what Brad has done in the short amount. Remember how bad our secondary used to be? Wide receivers would come here. Everybody would have career days. Oh, yeah. Every receiver that we played would have career days against us. And we knew it. We expected it because we weren't good back there. And, man, just to see where we are, man, we got a baby Legion of Boom starting back. I'm telling you, man, with how they're constructed right now, we're starting our little baby Legion. I don't know what we're going to call it, TT, but they're going to have to get a name.
They're going to have to.
Them boys, man, they something else.
The most improved unit on this football team by far, not even close.
Absolutely.
Trading for Carlton, drafting Terrion, and we haven't even seen Ennis Rakestraw either.
Exactly.
I mean, he's a second-round pick, and he can't get on the field because they're just so talented. Meek and what he brings, not a big guy, but he plays a big game
Yes.
in that slot. And then obviously we've talked about the safeties with 11 picks between them.
Come on, man.
It's
Our
stupid.
safety leading the league, right, Kirby?
Yeah, Kirby's 7.
Leading the
lead.
leading the league.
And I think Brian Branch is going to be an all-pro sooner rather than
Absolute.
later.
Absolutely.
I think both those guys.
Thank you.
I think that helps. The Lions have put a lot on that secondary this year with some of the injuries they've had in the front 7, and that continues now. And those guys have stepped up all year long. They're going to have to continue to do that in the last 8 games of the season. All right, let's get to the third big key for me, and it's let Sonic and Knuckles just continue to go to work. Isn't that combination just fun to watch?
Oh my God, man!
Some of your calls, I always love when they go back and do the Dan Miller's highlights and stuff like that, and I love seeing your reaction. Oh, there you go. Oh,
because man,
they're fun
you
to watch.
See it. Oh my God,
you see it developing from the
God.
top. Yeah,
TT is so much fun. Now look.
How much would you have loved blocking for these two guys?
See, that's what I'm saying. I tell these guys, man, if we could have, man, in all fairness, it takes 2 to make a Barry Sanders. I joke and say it takes a Sonic and a Knuckles to make a Barry Sanders. But, man, those guys, man, they are unbelievable. TT, I keep saying the thing to me with David Montgomery is I knew – from a distance when he was in Chicago, I knew the dude had power, right? Because he had, he could run through tackles and they had to stop him. What I didn't know till he got here was how shifty he was in tight spaces. Yeah. He can make guys miss in tight spaces. And I'm like, wow, this guy here. And that's so impressive to me. That impressed me more and he never loses yardage, man. Never. I mean, it's going to take 2 or 3 guys to bring him down. He always going forward, but the most impressive thing is how he makes guys miss in tight spaces. And then Sonic, man, I'm telling you, man, he's so fast, he looks slow. Him and J-Mo, they look like they running in slow motion. But remember, if you ever watched The Flash, anytime they showed The Flash, they had to show him in slow motion, right? Because you couldn't see him. And that's how they look when they running away from people, man. It's unbelievable, the speed on those guys. But how Jahmyr is just able to just cut on a dime, man. I mean, B used to jump cut. That's how B used to do. But Jahmyr, he plants and cuts. He doesn't jump cut. And it's a difference when you're able to do that and come out of that cut after you plant it with that speed.
And lose 0 speed.
There you go, TT.
0.
No speed. As a matter of fact, seem like you gain. It's like a burst that you come out of that with. So it's just unbelievable to watch these guys. I know Panay and them. I know those guys when they watch film, because we used to do it, man. You just sit back and you just enjoy the show. They don't get the chance to enjoy it while it's happening. They just hear about it. But on Mondays, you get a chance to sit back, because it used to always be 5 plays that Barry was going to do. You'd be like, how did he do that? How did he make that guy miss? And I know
you guys sit in the room and just
man, Glove. We used to sit back there. We'd be like, wait a minute, Glove. And it may be only a 1-yard run, TT, but it's going to be the best 1-yard run you ever seen in your life from Barry. And I know Panay, Taylor, all those guys, Frank, all those have to just enjoy what they have behind them and witnessing.
I had Penny on the podcast last week, and I asked him how much he liked, and he said, I'm about to show people how much I love. And that block, or getting David into the end zone there at the end. I mean, they have such a benefit running behind that offensive line. I mean, you look at yards before contact and stuff like that. I mean, it's amazing. But we talked about Brian Branch and Kirby Joseph as the best safety duo in the league, and it's not close. This is the best running back duo in the league, and it's not close.
Thank you. You're exactly right,
I mean, they both
TT.
have over 800 scrimmage yards. They both have 9 touchdowns in 10 games. I mean, some of the numbers that they're heading toward as a pair are unparalleled in this league. 9 times this year they've both rushed for, 9 times since they've been here the last 2 years, they've both rushed for a touchdown in a game. Lions are 9-0 in those games. I mean, it's just the numbers keep adding up. It's such an advantage to have 2 guys like this.
It really is. It really, because you could change it up. You could change it up. And the good thing, you could take this outside in bad weather.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because it doesn't matter. It could be snow. It could be rain. It just doesn't matter when you got a running game like this and you have two different type of guys that you could put in there. And then it relieves the guys too. And like I heard Jahmyr say it and I heard David say, they feed off each other, man. And anytime, man, when you don't have jealousy like that, when those guys really like each other and feed off each other, man, they can't be stopped. I'm serious. They can't be stopped. I'm telling you, TT, I keep saying, I do the show with AB, Anthony Bellino, and he keeps saying, don't say it. We going this year. We going, man. I'm TT. We going. I got here in 1985. This is the best this organization has looked. This is the best the team has looked, including our 91 team. Throw that in there. You throw the 95 team up in there. The only thing could stop us, I shouldn't even say it, is we know just the injury bug. Right. That's the only thing to me, TT, especially at the level we're playing at, how everybody's focused, how the coaches are focused in. If we stay that way, that's the only thing I can see stopping us this year, really.
You just got a lot of people
I know, man.
You got a lot of people excited
I'm telling
out
you,
there.
man.
I'm with you. It's the best. I've been covering for 15 years now.
There you go.
By far the best team.
Absolutely.
And you've been around a lot longer than I have on it.
I'm telling you, and it's the best I've been around.
It's not even close.
Coaching staff. Best coaching staff they've had since I've been here since 85. I don't know how it was before I got here. I can only speak back to 85. Best coaching staff ever. The front office, best ever it's ever been. So again, everything's clicking right now, man. It really is.
We'll see if they can continue clicking in Indy, get 9 in a row, get to 10 wins in 11. That would be huge. Yes. Things are kind of tight up there in the top of the NFC. And so, look, Dan's talked about it. To accomplish what they want to accomplish, they want everything to go through Detroit.
Yes.
So you got to keep winning football games. You got to go on the road and win games. You're expected to win Sundays, one of them. Lomas Brown, as always, I appreciate you.
Absolutely.
I love the Bluefield Hills love there
too.
Rocking
it, yes.
Yeah, I got a busy show for you guys today. We'll have Amon-Ra St. Brown on in a little bit. Stephen Holder's got all your Indianapolis news, so stay tuned. Welcome back to the Twentyman Huddle podcast. The man next to me needs a little introduction. He is Amon-Ra St. Brown, all-pro wide receiver, the guy who caught 11 passes for 160-plus yards and a couple touchdowns last week. You're having a heck of a season, man.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Hey, I want to get this first. You got a podcast, the St. Brown podcast. How much do you like doing the podcast, entering the podcast world?
Yeah, it's so I've been doing it now, I would say 3 years, but the first year was kind of just like, we didn't do it every week, wasn't consistent, but last year was consistent every week. This year, been doing it every week also. So I would say it's more tiring than people think. You got to do it every week, whether you win, lose, have a good game, bad game, whatever it is. But it's fun, get to talk to other people, really ask them questions that, you want to know. Obviously, I have a script and there's questions that, they want me to ask, but at the end of the day, it's my podcast, it's our podcast, and I'm going to ask the questions that I want to know, and it's kind of, a little off of, I feel like sometimes with the media, you got to answer, the questions correctly or
a certain way.
Sure. On my podcast, I feel like everything goes, everything flies. You say what you want, and that's kind of what I enjoy about it.
And that's why it's popular, I think, because you get that other side of
right.
it. All right, the celebrations. I saw one of the, I don't know who was marketing it, but I saw an ornament of the headstand. Have you seen the ornament
yet? My mom just called me yesterday saying there's an ornament. I want it. I said, I heard about it. I want to get it too. I don't know where to get it.
So I saw it on Twitter with the ornament, but these things are becoming hilarious now. You got to let me inside. Now, where do these come up with? Is it just something in the locker room? Do you guys have like a meeting time plan for these? Like, how do some of these celebrations come about?
So I would say every week it's different. So usually, so we play the Titans, and Chris Johnson was known for doing that dance that Jahmyr did when he scored. So I was going to do it. Jahmyr was like, no, let me do it. I'm a running back. Chris Johnson did it. I said, okay, you can have that one, because Chris Johnson was a running back. But sometimes, so if you're playing a different city, you want to do a dance that's in the city. That's usually pretty cool. But some cities just don't have popular dances. So when we played San Francisco last year, they had a few, Bay Area dances, and Jahmyr did that, I think, after he scored. But a lot of the times, I'm, scrolling through social media on TikTok, and there's dances on there, things that are going viral at the time. Or, like, the one that I did last week against, last game against the Jaguars, the Dragon Ball Z one, I was just scrolling and someone did it in high school, I think, and it looked crazy. I was like, I got to do it. Or the headstand, someone did it. Like, it was a D2 player.
Yeah.
College on Saturday, he did it. And so a lot of them I'm just taking, from other people.
There's some research time that goes into this
cool.
stuff.
It's awesome. I would say the Titans game was the one game where I wasn't really prepared to do anything. And so that, I wish I could have that one back.
We're all excited about what's next.
Yeah.
I want the relationship you have with David and Jahmyr. It looks like it's a pretty close one. I don't know if you've seen some of the statistics, but I think if you get in the end zone, Jahmyr gets in the end zone, you guys will become only the second trio in NFL history to go have back-to-back seasons with all 10 touchdowns. I think Randy Moss, Chris Carter, and the running back over there are the only other times to do it.
Yeah.
Just what is it about that relationship, those two guys, that it is really close, that's kind of built a bond between you guys?
Yeah, I think, when David, first got here last year and Jahmyr got here at the same time, I didn't know too much about David, but I knew a little bit because my brother was in Chicago with him, and he said David is a great guy. I've actually played, Call of Duty with him before he was even on the team. So I knew a little bit about David. I knew he was a funny guy. And then Jahmyr, he's more reserved if you don't really know him. But once you get to know Jahmyr, he opens up, he's funny, loves to joke around. I mean, he's messing around 24/7. He's probably never serious. Even on the football field, he's always messing around. So those two together, I think, they complement each other so well on the field with their skill set. And then for me, I like to have fun, mess around too. So all three of us, we have a great relationship. And it's just to be out there with them on the field. It's so fun for me just to be, blocking for them out there sometimes to see what they do. And it keeps me on my toes because I feel like, certain runs, I'll be on the backside and the run is going right. I'm on the left side and I'm over here like, okay, the ball's not going to come my way. And the moment you think it's not coming my way, they'll break 3 tackles or Jahmyr will make 2 guys miss and it come my way. And so it really, for me, I always got to lock in on in the run game stuff because with those 2 guys in the backfield, they're liable to pop anytime.
And speaking of relationship, that relationship you have with Jared, it seems really, really special. I know you guys work out in California in the off season too, but I mean, it's getting to a point where if you have less touchdowns than incompletions, I mean, it's an odd game. Yeah. And 11 for 11 last week. That's not the first time you guys have done that. Just what makes that relationship with you two so special? Why are you guys you look like you're on such the same page more than any other quarterback receiver duo in the league right now?
Yeah, I think it's a combination of everything. The work that obviously that we put in together, the work that he puts in the film room, Ben, calling plays against premier looks on defense that we know are going to work. Me understanding, where the soft spot is in the defense. And I think bigger than all that, for that stat to keep going with the targets and catches, I think it really is on Jared because last game, there was a few plays that were designed to go to me. I was the first read, and I wasn't open. And so he's not just forcing throws to me, even if I'm not open. He's throwing it when I am open or when I'm about to be open, things like that. So he's doing a great job of progressing, going through his reads. If I'm not open, and the second option's not open, he's always getting his check down to the running back. So I think he's doing a phenomenal job of hitting the open guy. It's not always me. I'm not always going to be open, even if the play is designed for me. Jamo's not always going to be open, so you never know what you're going to get out there on defense, and he's doing a great job of just going through his reads.
That's a great thing about your team is that 3rd, 4th read. It's a pretty darn good player that can make some plays too, So that's just natural for a quarterback to feel comfortable doing that and going down and finding the open guy. Just the city and what winning has done to the city and what this fan base has turned into now. How much fun has that been to watch? Because it obviously wasn't that way when you first got here, right? There were some tough times, but to watch that part of it grow and develop, how much fun is that, and how badly do you want to bring winning football, a Super Bowl, to this fan base?
Yeah, I mean it's amazing to see. Every Sunday, I feel like we're spoiled. Whether it's the 1:00 game, a Sunday night game, Monday night game in Detroit, it's packed out before we even get to the field. So player intros, you look out from the tunnel, everyone's in their seat, and I feel like at some places it's not like that, certain cities. So just that in itself, to see everyone in their seats before the game even starts is amazing. Sometimes I think to myself, I wonder what it's like to be a fan of the Lions for this long and to see them finally win now. Sometimes I wish I was in their shoes just to be able to sit back and enjoy it and really, see our team do what we're doing right now. But, what would you rather be than on the team? So I'm glad that I'm on the team. I'm so excited that the fans that have stuck with us for so long, they finally get to see, winning football and cheer us on every week. And I feel like they believe we're going to win every week, and that's the best part, no matter who we're playing. But the biggest thing that I want is, I don't know if we ever get to win the Super Bowl. I don't know where the parade would be, but the parade is probably the thing that I'm looking forward to most.
Millions.
I can't wait.
It would be millions.
Yeah.
I mean, it would shut down Detroit probably for multiple days. a couple real quick ones. The touchdown streak, you're at 8. 12, you can start to get names like Jerry Rice. How important is it to you? Is it something you think about, or is it just kind of one of those things that happens? If it happens, it happens, or is it important?
Yeah. The more that people bring it up, I feel like the more that it's brought to my attention, and the more I'm thinking about it. But when I'm out there, like last game, obviously I want to score every game. I think every player wants to score every game as much as they can, have as many yards as they can, win the game, and do all that stuff. So last game, obviously, I want to score. But it's funny how, there's certain plays where you think you're going to score, you don't score, and the plays where you might not think you're going to score, it's going to be a 5-yard game, or the plays where you score. So like the last week, I scored on the shallow route, and I mean, that's the last time I scored on a shallow route was week 1 last year versus Kansas City. So it's been a while since I scored on that route. Usually those plays only go for like 10, 15 yards. So it's been just clicking. Everything's been going my way. Hopefully it continues to go our way. But I wouldn't say it's something that I'm thinking about going in every week. I'm just looking to have a good game, do whatever I can to help the team win. And the biggest thing is winning every week.
Winning every week. Well, let's get to 10 this week.
Yeah.
It should be fun to watch you guys again on the road. You guys seem to have that kind of us against everybody mentality on the road. You're fun to watch.
Appreciate
and it's great offensive performance again upcoming, hopefully. So
Thank
thanks
you.
for joining me, Saint. Appreciate you.
it.
Keep that touchdown streak
Yes,
going,
sir.
and good luck Sunday.
Thank you.
Welcome back to the Twentyman Huddle podcast, and I'm very happy to welcome in Stephen Holder. Does a great job for ESPN. He's Colts NFL reporter over there. You need anything Indianapolis Colts, he is the guy to check in with. Stephen, thanks for joining me. I appreciate you, man.
Hey, thanks for having me. Looking forward to Sunday.
Yeah, it should be a good one. And let's start with this. Obviously Anthony Richardson, it's been up and down season for him, going through the benching, gets the starting spot back last week, and from the outside looking in, that was really his best performance, staying in the pocket, making big throws down the field, also getting out, had the 2 touchdown runs, but 20 of 30 for 272, no interceptions. That's the big one there. Played pretty well. That's got to be a great sign for him and the Colts, right?
It really is. I think they've spent this entire season, looking for reassurance that they had the right guy. And that had been elusive until now. So it's I think the first, or the biggest at least, sign that he is the guy they think he is. Now you got to do it next week and the week after, et cetera.
Yeah.
But you got to start somewhere. And I think really when I look at Anthony Richardson this year, I see a guy that maybe was trying too hard at times. And I don't think this was the intent per se, but sitting him down for 2 weeks, the one benefit of it was, at least one of the benefits, I should say, is that it allowed him, I think, to just kind of compose himself, take a deep breath. There's so much pressure on these young quarterbacks. So he looked like a guy who had a load taken off of him, frankly, when he came back into the lineup. And so I thought that enabled him to play a different kind of game. So let's see what he does on Sunday.
Yeah, to your point, it's all about stacking them, right? I mean, you can do it 1 week, but the good ones in this league, the guys that are around for a long time, do it consecutive weeks, stack them, and it's rare that they have a bad one. So that'll be, big for Indy. I would listen to Gus Bradley's press conference earlier in the week, and he certainly seems to understand the test that his unit faces this week against the Detroit Lions, averaging 33.6. What does he do? What buttons does he have to push defensively for his unit to hold back a Detroit offense that's really humming right now?
It will be interesting to see if they do anything that's a little out of character for them. One thing they've done more of this season than at any point in many years here in Indianapolis is they have blitzed a lot more. They're still not a heavy blitz team. They're not going to be that with Gus Bradley. They weren't with Matt Eberflus as their defensive coordinator either in previous years. But but certainly they have in recent weeks, I would say maybe the past month or so, we have seen them become much more aggressive. And the key to blitzing is always getting home, first of all, and also blitzing at the right times. So they've done a good job on both fronts. Now, whether that's effective against Jared Goff in this offense, that's a different question. And I'm not sure that that's the answer. So we'll see. I mean, do they just play the coverage game and just keep everything in front of them? They are very good at that. They have given up, I mean, tons of yardage this season. That's one of the worst teams in the league in terms of giving up yardage. What they haven't done is given up a ton of points for the most part. They've been top 12 in scoring defense just about the entire season. So those are contrasting things there that don't necessarily add up, but ultimately the name of the game is to keep them out of the end zone. So they've done that at a decent rate this year, but this is the biggest test I think they will have had.
Yeah, also taking the football away. I think they're top 10 in the NFL. That's obviously huge for a defense too. And then I was just noticing, 5 different players with 3 sacks. So it looks like they can get after the quarterback a little bit. They generate takeaways. And look, when you can do that, I think even if you're an inferior roster, I think if you can get after the quarterback and you create takeaways, I think that's probably the recipe for success at home for Indy on Sunday. Jonathan Taylor, I was looking through the statistics. A little odd to see him where he's at. I know he's missed a couple games, but 17th in the league in rushing, that's not expected from a guy as talented as him. What's been kind of the issues there? Has it been just injuries he's been dealing with, or what's kind of gone behind that slow start? Because I know they want to run the football there.
They do want to run the football. For Jonathan Taylor, really the issue has been his ankle, his right ankle, I believe. He's had issues with this thing really for the better part of the last 2 years. So he had a high ankle sprain on that ankle again this year, missed 3 games. So that really just kind of puts a damper on your season, at that position. And he's going to have to manage it throughout the season, I think. He was seen during the game this past Sunday, taping his ankles at one point, came back into the game, didn't seem to be diminished by it, but it's, he's not going to be the same guy, or at least has not been the same guy at times. But look, when teams play with the light box, he has been the guy that you expect him to be. This past week, the New York Jets really shut down the run, and that was intentional on their part. I mean, he maybe popped a couple of decent runs early, and they adjusted a lot of run blitzes, heavy boxes. They were not going to give it up. So that did enable the Colts to beat them over the top in the second half with some key intermediate and deep balls. But they would love nothing more than to be able to run the football. And what they have, though, look, they didn't run for a lot of yardage last week, but what they do have is that combination of Taylor and Richardson as a runner. Richardson ran it 10 times. Taylor, I think, in the low 20s in carries. So you're going to get a lot of runs if they stick with it. And we'll see. I think it's a good plan this week if they can have some success, keep that Detroit offense perhaps on the sideline. So I think that has to be at least the game plan. They have to at least try. Let's put it that way. If it works, it works. But you have to at least try. And because I think that is such a fundamental part of their offense, that's where they can maybe make this game a little bit of a more level playing field, I think.
Yeah, and to your point, 91 rushing yards last week, but 35 rush attempts. So they stuck with it, and I agree with you. If you're going to keep this high-powered Detroit Lions offense off the field, that's one way to do it with that combination. What's the key in Stephen Holder's opinion for, Indianapolis to get a big win, get an upset win here at home Sunday?
Well, I think a couple things. Number one, they got to avoid turnovers. Richardson did not have the interceptions last week. That's a big step. Did have a fumble. Got to be a little bit, kind of have that awareness in the pocket, when you've been back there for a little bit. So got a sack, fumble, short field for the Jets. That keeps them in the game. A bad team, with a short field, they got another 2-minute drive, touchdown late in the first half. So those are the things that make games that should be lopsided, close games. And so that's what they got this past week. So you can't afford that. So eliminate the turnover, obviously. Don't give Detroit extra chances. The other thing for the Colts, I think, is really getting off the field on third down. They have too many instances where they get teams to third down and then they just give up a big play. Their third down percentage is fine. I think it's sort of average, but the problem is just in some key spots, just giving up really just gut punch plays on third down. You got to get off the field if you get Detroit to third down, you better make it count.
Can this Colts offense score with Detroit? You look around and they've got weapons. And look, Richardson's got a big arm. You look at Pierce averaging, 22.7 yards per reception. He's there. Jamison Williams. Pittman's a good player. I mean, they've got weapons. Could this possibly be a high-scoring game in Indy?
I think it could be. It really could be. They have the potential. They definitely have a decent arsenal on offense. And, their tight ends are not necessarily household names, but they'll go to them too when the opportunity arises. I like their receivers. They're an underrated group. Pittman's a little hurt right now. He'll play, I think, but he's certainly not himself. But that group overall, Josh Downs, an incredible player this year. You'll see their slot receiver. You talked about Alec Pierce. Adonai Mitchell, A.D. Mitchell, a rookie out of Texas, is starting to show some signs. He is athletically the best wide receiver they have, I believe. So if he can get going. So anyway, they have playmakers and then obviously the quarterback. So you put all that together, that has the potential to stress a defense, those guys, if they're all contributing and if they've got some good schemes to present on Sunday. So we will see.
Yeah, and Dan Campbell talked about it on Wednesday. He said, look, that's a talented group over there, and they're still fighting at 5-6, very much still alive in the AFC playoff picture, very much alive in the division race. So this is an important game for them at home. So it should be fun. I'm looking forward to it. See if this Lions offense can continue rolling, and let's see if Anthony Richardson can continue rolling. There's a lot of storylines heading into this one. Stephen Holder does a great job for ESPN. Check with him anytime you need anything Indianapolis Colts. Stephen, I appreciate you taking the time so much, and we will see you Sunday in Indy.
All right, you got it.